This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, Obama and quote-unquote random violence against the Jewish people. Once again, as we watch the terrorism, the sadistic, vicious terror being inflicted on the Israeli people by the Palestinian death cult, we see Obama's statements again, his references to random violence occurring in that quote-unquote conflict. And he does this repeatedly, as if some random guy is running around and randomly hurting random people, when in fact it is Jewish people that are being targeted for specific reasons. He did this recently as we're watching the intensification of this, what many people are calling the third intifada against Israelis. He just referred to it as random violence. He did it earlier in the year. When there was the attack in Paris on the kosher deli, the Jewish deli, when the terrorist himself had proclaimed that he was doing what he was doing in his terror attack because it was a Jewish deli, because there were Jewish people inside. The Obama administration had referred to that also as random violence. And I've been thinking about this. Why? What is behind this? How could it be that when we see the Palestinian clerics, we see the sheiks in the mosques, we see the Palestinian media, we see the Palestinian culture screaming death to the Jews from the rooftops. We see their demonstrations recently with knives in their hand and making the gesture of knives to stab the Jew. And we see this being played out. How could this possibly be just random violence when an Israeli and Israelis are finally hurt by this violence? And I was thinking, was the Jewish Holocaust just random? Did Jewish people end up in Auschwitz and Buchenwald and Treblinka in Dachau? Just randomly, it just happened that the Nazis were just gathering up people and it just happened to be a whole bunch of Jewish people in the death camps. Now, and I'm not saying that the Nazis did not kill other people, but I'm saying there definitely, obviously, all of us civilized people know that there was a systematic and deliberate targeting of Jews in the Jewish Holocaust. And there was nothing random about the Jewish Holocaust. And so today we see the continuation of this. The Palestinian death cult and the Islamic Republic are simply trying to finish off what Hitler started. Now, and I'm not saying that it began with Hitler, because if those of you who have done your research and know, Hitler was also inspired very much by Islam. And we know that Muhammad on his deathbed was proclaiming and making a mandate out of killing Jews. And throughout his life as the quote-unquote prophet, a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of Jew hatred. When you go into the Quran and you read the Hadith, you see that Jew hatred, and it's the foundation of what we see today and what the Palestinian death cult is perpetrating against the Israeli people. And so we see this as the continuation of an old war, and it's the new phase, this Jew hatred, this anti-Semitism. And so here I'm getting to my point. Why would you refer to this as random violence? And I want to, and since it's the continuation of the attempt at a Holocaust of the Jewish people, I want to narrow in tonight, and now I'm zeroing in, Holocaust denial. Why Holocaust denial? Those who engage in Holocaust denial, what is it? If you watch very carefully and you study this phenomenon, which I have done from the time I was a young kid, because I was very interested in Gulag denial. Being from the Soviet Union, I was very interested by the people in the West who were denying the Stalinist killing fields, who were denying Maoist killing fields and Castro's killing fields and the Khmer Rouge killing fields. Why were they doing it? And this is very connected. When you look at Holocaust denial, when you look at the people who engage in Holocaust denial, it's the people that are actually very happy that the Holocaust occurred. You don't see people that love Jewish people and who care for Jewish people saying that the Holocaust never occurred. It's always the same people. In other words, the Nazis perpetrated the Holocaust, and then you find neo-Nazis and varieties of Nazis engaged in denying it happened. But there's a paradigm here of, oh yeah, the Holocaust didn't occur. Yeah, but we're really happy it did. Ha ha ha, got you, right? Watch it carefully. Watch this phenomenon where there's a denial of the Holocaust, but the denial is being perpetrated and engaged in by the people who are happy that the Holocaust occurred or that want another one to happen. So here's the thing. Holocaust denial, in the end, leads to the fertilization of the soil for another Holocaust. This is very important to understand because when there is an honesty about the Holocaust, there's moral clarity about good and evil. When good people, when wise people, when civilized people are honest and look into history and say there was a Holocaust, well, then you can identify the evil of anti-Semitism, the evil of anti-Semites, the moral clarity of the evil overall of anybody that is against the Jewish people and wants to perpetrate genocide against them. And then, because of this moral clarity, there can be efforts to stop it, to repudiate anti-Semitism, and to engage in action where anti-Semitism will be delegitimized and everything that it tries to do will be stopped. But if you deny Holocaust, then you erase memory. You push the Holocaust into historical invisibility. And then there can't be any moral clarity. Then you can't have any conclusions. Then there is no never again. In other words, there can't be any conclusion on good and evil, and then therefore the Holocaust can more easily happen again. And so what I'm narrowing in on here, my friends, something that I've thought about my whole life and studied my whole life, because Holocaust denial fertilizes the soil for another Holocaust, because Holocaust denial enables the power of there being another Holocaust, Holocaust denial is the yearning for another Holocaust. And the same with Gulag denial. When you see the leftists who are denying over and over again the consequences of class hatred, deep down they want another Stalinist experiment. They want another Maoist experiment. When you see jihad denial, again, you see the enabling of jihad, because if you're denying the sources of jihad, then you're enabling the ingredients of jihad to happen. And so what I want to narrow in on here is, let's get back to calling the new attempt at genocide and the old war of this genocide against the Jewish people, but the new phase of this attempted of the genocide of the Israeli people. And we have a certain individual referring to it as random violence. This is a mutated copy. It is a carbon copy. It is a species of Holocaust denial. Because what you're basically doing is you're denying that there's anti-Semitism, that there's consequences to anti-Semitism, and that there's anti-Semites trying to perpetrate violence against Jewish people because they're Jews. And so this random violence reference is being engaged in by a president whose record on the Israeli people and on the Israeli nation is just, it's shameless and shameful. We have seen Obama bully Israel and betray Israel and reach his hand out in solidarity to the enemies of Israel rather than supporting Israel. And I want to end with this, in terms of everything I've said about Holocaust denial being a yearning for another Holocaust and enabling another Holocaust. When you see an American president who's looking at a Palestinian death cult engaged in an attempted genocide of the Jewish people, and they're inflicting terrorism on Israeli people, and you say, oh, there's just random violence going on there. With that kind of denial, what is the impulse behind that denial? I'm going to ask you that question. I'm not going to reach a conclusion here this evening, but in the context of everything we've talked about and that I've referred to this evening in terms of Holocaust denial, what could possibly be the impulse and yearning behind a president denying that there's anti-Semitism when Israeli people are being killed and referring to it as random violence? What's the impulse? I'll see you on the next moment of the Jamie Glazov moment. Good night.